Welcome to this session about Jakarta EE11, the second to last session of the day, so I guess you're tired. I'm going to talk about Jakarta EE11. About the theme for this release is if I get it my way, but just as we talked about at lunch, if I repeat it many times over and over again, this will be the thing. So it's performance and developer productivity. Luckily, Neil is here, so he can take it to the marketing committee and create some graphics around it. So what I'm going to talk about is Jakarta EE11, but first, my name is Ivar Grimstad. I'm the Jakarta EE developer advocate at Eclipse Foundation. And these are my coordinates if you want to engage with me after, maybe not during the talk, but after. I'll repeat some of this stuff afterwards. But yeah, Jakarta EE is all about specifications. And when we talk about specifications in Jakarta EE, we build them from a textual representation of the technology. It's a specification document, describes what the technology is all about. We have an API artifact that is what US developers would use at Maven Central, so that's what you use when you develop your applications. And we have a test compatibility kit, or TCK, that validates that an implementation fulfills the requirements of the specification. And when it does, it is a compatible implementation. And we need at least one open source compatible implementation to make a final specification. And we can have as many compatible implementations as people want to make. So. But we need at least one. Jakarta EE10 is the current release. It was released a little over a year ago. So I'll just repeat quickly what Jakarta EE10 was about. It's a lot of new specifications. More than half of them were updated, all the blue ones. We had CDR Lite, the new specification, added in 10. But apart from that, it was kind of a maintenance release of the APIs where we just kind of refined things that had been hanging around for a while. If we take this and compare it to what's common in Jakarta EE10, we see that it's the same number of specification, but we've added one and removed one. So managed beans is not with us anymore, and data has been added. And also here, the blue ones represent the ones with changes. So most of them have changes. The gray ones are good as it is for now. They will probably be updated in a later release. And as I said, data is the new specification in Jakarta EE11. So let's talk about Jakarta EE11. And the subset of the platform is what we call the web profile. And you can see the Jakarta data is both part of the platform and the web profile. So it will be part of a web profile. And these are specifications targeted more a traditional web application. And if we peel away all of these targeting web applications, we have the Jakarta EE11 core profile, which is a set of specifications targeting microservices. And here, there are no new specifications, just updates to half of the existing ones. One of the most important thing we do with Jakarta EE11 is to up the Java SE level. So we set the minimum, or we compile all the APIs on Java 21. And we set the minimal level to run the TCKs on 21. And this is for us to be able to use the Java 21 features in the specifications going forward. We also kind of tried to set a release cadence for upcoming Jakarta EE releases. And this release cadence is to be 6 to 9 months after a Java SE LTS release. So Java 21 was in September of this year. If we add those 6 to 9 months, we will end up around June, July next year. And that is the target date for Jakarta EE11. And before that, we want to do a milestone release. So we want to have this iterative approach to doing things. And we're going to have at least one milestone, maybe two, before we come to the final version. And the milestone one of Jakarta EE11 is set to be December 5th this year. And this is the date we have our Jakarta One live stream conference, so that's what we can celebrate there. The component specifications has to be ready the week before, so we can get everything ready. So the date we communicate to the projects are November 28th. And for the milestone, we don't require everything to be done. So what we want there is a specification document that has made some changes to it. It doesn't have to be final, it doesn't have to be complete, but at least generate a new PDF. Same with the API. If you haven't made any changes, just regenerate with a new version number. So we can bundle everything together. If you have done all the API changes, we want them in there. But it doesn't have to be finished. It's kind of an intermediate. It's a milestone. This is how far we are right now. We don't require a TCK, and we don't require compatible implementation at this stage. For a milestone 2, there will be compatible implementations available. But for the first one, we focus on just get the spec right. So if you can update everything and address most of the issues there, that's fine. And as I said, we want to deliver Jakarta 11 around June, July next year. And the theme for this release will be, if I get it my way, performance and developer productivity. You see, I just repeat it, keep repeating it. And this release, in addition to doing spec updates in the individual specification, we're addressing some cross-cutting concerns as well. And one of those cross-cutting concerns is to remove managed beans. So we've taken this out and replace it by CDI. So no more managed beans. So that's the specification that goes away in this release. We're also addressing that the JEP 411 that will deprecate the security, or that deprecates the security manager for removal. It's still there in 21. So everybody can use it, so implementations can still use it, customers can use it, application developers can still rely on Security Manager, but we remove the dependency from the API so the platform doesn't depend on it anymore. We also take away the optional features and specifications in the platform. These are the optional specifications that has been around for a while. They're optional in Jakarta E10. They were made optional, I think, in 9. But what we do now is actually get rid of them. They're still there, so you can still use them, but they won't be part of the platform. So if we're going to go and look at the changes here, and I'll group the security ones together. And it's not a complete guide there, but what will be done in security is mostly about removing the security manager references and clarifications about how to do the authorization and stuff. So there are more details, and if you want details, you have Arjan here in the room, can ask him afterwards. So the authorization APIs will be clarified, the interceptors for authorization, and some abstractions around the identity and permission stores. So these are kind of the very high-level stuff that security wants to do. There's also a new specification coming in microprofile that is called the microprofile JWT bridge. So Jakarta Security will be able to use the JWT features in microprofile, or you can use JWT in Jakarta without being circular dependencies. So we kind of have this intermediate specification. So security you can find in these 3 specifications. For application developers, the security API, or the lower one, security 4.0, is where you typically would go. The others are more service level APIs. Concurrency. That's about virtual threads. So we have Loom come in 21. And what they want in Jakarta EE, traditionally we have all these managed ways of doing threading, like managed executor service and etc. And we aren't changing it that. So what we're doing with Loom is to add a support in some of these places. This is an example of how they propose things. It's not necessarily going to be like that, but add a virtual equals true flag in this managed execution definition, and then you will get it there. So rather than creating the virtual thread, we will have this create for you. And concurrency, you can find it on the concurrency webpage, more details about that specification. For CDI 4.0 and CDI Lite, there are no updates to CDI Lite as far as I know, but this is to support records and seal types with CDI, to deprecate some expression language SPIs that have been hanging around, at priority on producers. So there are cleanup stuffs and making things easier and making CDI being the stuff that we want to use everywhere. I don't think the name for this integration specification is right. It's called CDI something else, but this is kind of the same thinking that with security, that they're creating a specification that kind of binds together the Jakarta EE specific stuff in CDI, so you can have CDI or the Java SE versions of CDI not being dependent on each other, and you can actually run the CDI without the EE stuff. So it's kind of an integration. They're working on the details here, but it will be something similar to the JWT bridge. And CDI 41 is on this URL. So expression language. There are some deprecations here and there, making some APIs optional. Support for optional in optional EL resolver, and support for records. So that's where records were new in Java 16, but since we're now going from 11 to 21, this is now we can use records in Jakarta EE. And this is the URL for expression language. So for phases, remove everything security manager related, rely on CDI, fixed some events that aren't used, and also some extensions that aren't used. So clean up the API and remove security manager, I guess, is the theme for this one. And phases, you can find everything about here. Servlet 6.1 is also, you see, there is the cross-cutting concern about security manager. It's all everywhere. They fixed some stuff about the status codes when redirecting things. So it gives a better control of how to do this, to control this status code. Also some convenient stuff around the attribute constants and methods, and clarifications in the specification of how to use this stuff. And Servlet 6.1 is found here. And Persistent 3.2 are doing a bunch of stuff, so I couldn't fit everything here, but they are deprecating, this is probably the most controversial thing they're doing, is to deprecate the old calendar datetime and stuff, and replacing with Java time API. And this was, I don't know if they actually settled on this and agreed on it. It's certainly been discussed, and that is that is a probably a very breaking change if we go to 3.2. Yeah, so Java time is coming there. Lots of convenience methods, like mathematical stuff, how you sum things and do things in the criteria languages. And I couldn't list all of them on this slide, so you have to go to this page to find them. For pages, it's more or less a maintenance, just do whatever Servlet and expression language are doing, so keep up with that. And remove things that were deprecated a long time ago. You see, Servlet is on 6.1 now, so remove things that were deprecated 3 releases ago. URL for pages. WebSocket, kind of the same thing, all about minor updates, clarifications, remove security manager references. The common thing with I think WebSocket servlet pages is that they're already done. They're ready to push the release button. So they're just waiting for those that have dependencies on, or if they want to add something else. So this is all done. It's implemented in Tomcat. It's there. So they're very aligned with our plan. Actually, a little bit in front of our plan. Validation, you may wonder, what is validation? Well, validation is the new name of bean validation. So rather than having the name Jakarta bean validation, we now call it Jakarta validation. And it's kind of the theme. We shorten the names to make them clearer, easier to understand, easy to use. And to be honest, bean validation validates more than just beans. So now, one thing they add in 3.1, the one single feature they add is to be able to validate Java records. And that is not a trivial thing. But they have a way of solving it. Jakarta RESTful Web Services, they're also a major release, so they will break things, drop support for bad context, rely on CDI. They're going to explore whatever's going on in Jakarta concurrency. I don't know how far they come with that, but whatever there to do the asynchronous things is probably going to adopt what concurrency figures out. Also do some explorations. I don't know what's coming out of it, but with the CDI Lite, since these are both a Jakarta EE core profile, so they probably want to remove some dynamic things to be able to do it at build time. Couple of more annotations. Well, that's to remove the manage bins annotations. That's a very easy change. It's just delete this class. What was this one? This is interceptors. So this is the wrong slide. So interceptors, I'll go back to that one, are changing adding some methods to the invocation context. And this is kind of, I've never worked with this, so this is kind of, it's probably someone using it. I guess the other specifications are using it a lot. So this is probably very convenient stuff for the other specifications. Yeah, add the standard access to interceptors binding. So that was what we looked at. So you probably saw that I skipped one. When I went through, I took them alphabetically all over here. But I skipped Jakarta data. And that is because data is the new specification. It's the one we're most excited about. It standardized the repository pattern for data access. And this one is new in Jakarta 11, and we're so glad that we can actually add something new and not do another maintenance release. So this kind of, for me, this is the entire value of Jakarta 11, is to actually add some functionality that the developers want. And it's fairly simple. Those familiar with Spring Data this would compile in Spring Data as well. So it's just a different namespace on the annotations. So it's very similar. So if you're a Spring developer using Spring Data, you can come to Jakarta EE and you would have the same thing, or vice versa. So it's a good thing to standardize around this. And this one I actually want to demo. So in this case, for Jakarta data, we have currently one compatible implementation, or it's not compatible yet because they haven't finalized it yet, but we have one implementation, and that is Open Liberty from IBM. And this demo I'm using here is available on my GitHub. I'll give you the URL afterwards. You see, I'm using Jakarta 10 because 11 hasn't been released yet, but when we have 11 milestone, I can use the milestone version for the platform API. So I'm adding the Jakarta data API that I have a beta 2 out now. And for this one, I'm adding the Open Liberty runtime and using their latest beta for being able to run it. So that's my configuration here. And if we look at this class, it's a simple REST endpoint. It has a greeting entity. So this is Jakarta persistence. Just getters and setters on some of the fields. And I have a resource here just where I can query the greetings, list them all. You can see it returns an empty list, so it's not implemented yet. And also I can create a greeting, which is also not implemented. So if I wanted to do this with Jakarta persistence, I would have to figure out how to inject the persistent context and the entity manager and criteria language or JPQL or whatever, how am I going to do it? So let's do it the Jakarta data way. And the way I do it is to simply create an interface. So I'll create an interface that I call greeting repository. So now I have just created an interface. So I'll give it the @repository annotation. So now it's a Jakarta data repository. And I want the simple CRUD repository, so I'll extend it with the CRUD repository. And I want this CRUD repository to be handling a greeting. And the primary key for my greeting is long. So now I've done everything I need to do. I've created this interface. Now I'll start using it. I'll go to the resource, and rather than list all here, first of all, I'll inject the greeting repository here. Let's call it greeting repository. So I have the greeting repository, and rather than just returning an empty list here, I'll use the greeting repository and use the find all method. And it returns a stream, so I just use the toList. So now I have implemented the find all method. But I also need a way to put greetings into my database. So what I'll do here is I have this post that consumes a JSON, the greeting, which will be automatically transferred from the JSON to the data object. So I'll just do the storage here. So I'll just create a greeting here. I'll call it saved equals greeting repository dot save. So I already have this method available for me just by creating this interface. And I pass in the greeting. I don't really need to do this, assign it to anything, because it will return the one, but I'm just doing it for super clarification here. And I'll just print out the saved ID of this one, so we can see that in a response when I've added a greeting. So this is all I have to do to run this. So I'll go here and see Maven clean a package, and then Liberty. I'll use the Liberty dev mode, which makes it possible to just do the changes without starting the server. It starts a little slower, but after that, I don't have to restart it again. So I'll just start down. So it's up and running, and what I'll do is to post or first let's look at the greetings. So I'll go here to the greetings, and you can see it's an empty list. So I don't have any greetings in the database yet. And then I'll post some greetings here. And the way I can do this is take this JSON, hello from Duke, with Duke, and post it to my local computer, the greetings. So I've done that. I have 200 back, and you can see now I have a Duke in the database. And what if I also had a Mrs. Duke? So I wanted to add, so Mrs. Duke, and then hello from Mrs. Duke. So I'll post this, and now you can see I have 2 records in my database. What if I wanted to be able to go here and query by name? So I want to filter only the Duke messages. Now I haven't implemented it, so let's go ahead and do that. Oh, sorry. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to go to the repository and say that, hey, I want a method that I can find one by its name. And the way I can return an optional because I don't know if it's there. So it's an optional greeting, and I'll call it find by name, and maybe even ignore case. And then I'll pass in the name. So just define the method on the interface, and then I'll go to the greeting resource, and here I'll cheat a little because I don't want to type all this, just the find by name method. So what I do here is I pass in the name in the path, and then I call this find by name equals ignore case. I get an optional greeting back. I just get the message and print. If I don't find the thing, it will print not found. So now I've done this, and now let's see if the Liberty dev mode works. And I'll just go here, and it says Duke not found, and that is because I'll tell you why. I forgot to fix the configuration that actually deletes the content in my database with every refresh. So I have to push them in again. So let's do that. You wouldn't do that in production anyway. So I have hello from Duke, and I hello from Mrs. Duke here. So if I want to only see Duke, I can write Duke here. and it will say, oh, maybe I should write it correctly. Dick not found. No, Dick. It goes a little faster. There we go. So, it's late in the day, so hello from Dick. Yeah. So you thought I messed up the demo. Eh? That's why people like demos, is that the speaker can mess them up. But it worked, right? So it's super simple, super easy to use. And this is an opportunity around there because Open Liberty, that's one implementation. We need more. Like Glassfish needs an implementation. We need someone implementing it with the Apache license as well, so the Apache projects can pick it up. So if you want to start a project, either at Eclipse Foundation or Apache, there are none of these here. And I know a way to find a cool name for it. You can ask me afterwards. And go ahead and try to. I don't think it's very hard to implement it. And Open Liberty is open source, so you're allowed to look at what they've done and copy it. We have also something called prospective specifications in Jakarta EE 11, and we're going to list those specifications that are ready. They have released something, but they're not part of the platform now, but they were kind of runners-up in the voting. So we have Jakarta MVC, which standardized the action-based model view controller pattern. And this is going to be one of the prospective specifications. It's on version 3.0 when Jakarta 11 comes. This is kind of the super simplistic way of seeing how it looks. It builds on Jakarta REST. You have a couple of annotations like the @controller that makes it possible to have a void resource method. And it would render the view rather than returning the string. So it has a couple of annotations and some bindings around it. Jakarta NoSQL is a potential standalone prospective specification. They haven't released a final release yet, so that's kind of their. They have to release, and then they will be listed as a prospective. Otherwise, they will continue as a standalone specification and be a candidate for 12. And the same goes for Jakarta RPC, but they will definitely not be a prospective one. They will be something to look on later. To sum up, Jakarta EE 9 did this thing. You probably know about it. And we are not going to do that again, promise. But we're the one who did it. You can use transformation to cope with this. For example, the Eclipse transformer or the Apache Tomcat migration tool does this automatically for you. You also have some IDE supports. You can use Open Rewrite. There are several ways of coping with this namespace change. Jakarta 10 is the current release, so go to 10 if you want to explore Jakarta EE now. Jakarta 11 is coming next year. We'll have some cool updates, especially around data. Performance and developer productivity, the theme for this release. We're going on 21. This means when Spring releases something that relies on the Jakarta EE 11 technology, they have to go on 21. Tomcat 11 is already on 21. Most of the implementations we have but they require 21. So if you want to upgrade from Tomcat 10 to 11, you have to go to 21. Most of the implementations we have in Jakarta 10 supports 21, but they also support 17 and 11. If you want to know more about Jakarta EE, you go to https.jakarta.ee, and from there you can find everything. /specifications will take you to the list of specifications. You can read my weekly #Jakarta EE. The demo code for Jakarta EE Duke is here. Take it down and play around with it. You can extend it, add some new methods to the interface. If you want to learn more about Jakarta EE, I have a course on LinkedIn. You can scan this QR code if you have a LinkedIn subscription, or somebody is paying your LinkedIn subscription. If they don't, then this is not for the recorded. You can contact me and I'll give it for free. And thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the conference, the talk, and will enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much. We have 1 minute for questions. Yes? Yes, there are a couple of others as well, yes. I can't name them right now, but yes. Yes.
Since you're essentially doing Grimstad string, so it's making typos, making error, it's probably good with the IE.
Yeah, that's a very good question, but I'll repeat it, or the comment, that there should be tooling support for the domain-specific language for creating queries.
Yeah.
And that's a very good thing, yes.
Eclipse project doing these kinds of things. It's
The language server, yeah.
the language server, so that would be excellent with
Yes.
good support over there.
So we just got another opportunity to contribute to the language server with Jakarta data support, so we can get it into the IDEs and they can use this.
Yeah.
Okay. One more question.
I still have the feeling that the release cadence is a bit long compared to other things. I know it's very much stuff in Jakarta, but do you think it would be possible to have a yearly release?
Okay, so the question is whether we should go for a yearly release. So I think it would be possible, but I also see that from we do a release of Jakarta 11, we usually have one implementation, that is the ratifying implementation. Then it takes a couple of months before the next implementation comes along, and maybe it takes even a year before most of the vendors have released their project. So if we already there start with a new release, it may be too early because people won't be able to keep up. But that was also said about Java SE and 6 months cadence. But it turns out that people aren't updating to the intermediate release, that they are waiting 2 years for the LTS release. So in my view, I'm kind of conflicted in my opinion there, but I think it's actually a good thing to establish something fairly regular, and a first step on the way is to do that at some certain amount of time after an LTS, and that's a good first step, and then we can see how we can go from there. All right. Thank you very much. I have some stickers if you want.